Artlist.io. Music licensing reimagined. Artlist.io. Music licensing reimagined.
And we should be good. All right, peace and blessings, family. Happy Sunday. Hey, Sister Leia, how are you?
Hey, I'm well, and you?
I am good. It's been a busy couple of weeks, but I'm here.
Yes.
You know,
right. Still standing.
Huh?
Still standing.
Yes. But it's all been good. It's been good. It's just been a lot of work.
Good.
And I got a new sauna in my house. So it's the one where your head come out the top.
Okay.
I love this thing. Like, it's awesome. If you don't get one, you got to invest in it. It will help. It's good for your health, period.
Yeah. Oh, good.
Yeah. So how are things going for you?
They're going okay. They're going well. Trying to shift a little bit. You know, that's what we have to do every once in a while. We have to kind of shift our approach to certain things to get different results, you know. So the shift is here, you know. So greater things, you know, we have to make sure that we continue to do the work and that we're being successful in it.
Well, you know, first of all, thank you for joining me. Sister LaBeebah may be jumping in. She had like a bit of an emergency. So we'll see.
Yeah.
But I'm really excited to talk with you because I feel like I don't know what's really going on in Sack of Tomatoes. Because I'm always doing stuff sometimes I work locally, but I'm also involved, you know, nationally and globally. But I know we had all of these protests going on in 2020 and the streets were alive, as they say. And now the streets feel a little quiet, but it could be things going on. Let me just say this. It could be things going on that just because you don't know, don't mean it ain't happening. That's what I learned. But, you know, Sacramento is a place where we have more nonprofits next to the Capitol of the United States, DC. So we have a lot of nonprofits, but we also have a lot of homeless people. We have a lot of issues going on in our schools as it pertains to our children. We have a lot of Black people have a lot of problems.
Yep.
And we have a lot of people who benefit off of those problems. Yes. Now that sounds horrible, but that's just reality.
Yeah, it is.
So what do you think about in terms of in 2020, there were all of these protests everywhere and where we are right now? And did it change some things? Did it make things better for our people or no?
You know, 2020 was the year of the performative everything is what I like to say. You know, it was the George Floyd era. So it brought out the George Floyders. And what that means is that Black people have a way of having temporary mind frames. You know, we're angry one minute and then we forget about it the next week. It's very temporary. There's no consistency in that anger and in those feelings that enact you to get out there to even want to make a change. So you had a lot of people coming out because what they saw with George Floyd was they saw something that was tangible to them. It was something they can actually taste and touch because it was done on camera. But there were many other things done on camera as well that were ignored. So what that did is, it was the pandemic era too, though. You have to think about that. A lot of what we saw out there was people running amok and people just being out wanting to be free because they were tied down for such a long period. So that also has something to do with it as well, as people just wanting to get out. But, it was very temporary and it really didn't serve much purpose in some instances. Now, protesting is supposed to have a purpose. It's supposed to have a specific purpose. What is your ask? What is your demand? What exactly are you protesting for and about? And then what is the aftermath of that? Because it's not enough to get out in the streets and yell about something and having your nice signs and your cute shirts on and saying, I'm upset that this happened. What are you going to do after the fact? Because that's the real work. So getting out in the streets and protesting is the easy part. That's the fun part. That's the part where you really get to use all of your inhibitions that you normally can't do in your normal life. But what happens after that? So what we saw is temporary rage. It's all performative. I'm angry about it today, but I'm going to forget about it next week because George Floyders are still happening. Breonna Taylors are still occurring. These things are still happening in our community. And most importantly, what people don't want to talk about is we get upset when the police or the system or the government is doing something to us, but when we do it to ourselves, there's silence. Where's the protest about that? Yeah. So there has to be some type of aftermath when it comes to protesting.
So wow, you said a lot. And you know what I loved about what you said in particular is that not only did you recognize that we have police terror, but we also have Black people killing each other as well. And both of those should be riding together. One can't be more important than the other. No. What do you think we can do in terms of bringing those two issues together?
We have to hold them where they belong. We have to understand that we're dealing with two completely different entities. So if we can't take care of our own backyard, if you don't know what's happening on the own street that you live on, but you can tell me what's happening across the country, there's a problem. If you're not taking care of your own community and your own neighborhood, and you're not supporting people that live right where you are, but you can support something that looks good on TV or that is glamorized on social media, that's where the problem lies. So where does this true support lie in? So if you're angry with the police and the police system, and you're angry with the systems, and you're angry with the laws, and you're angry with everything that's happening to us as Black people, what are you going to do about it? Because getting out in the streets is one way to show, and it's supposed to disrupt, and it's supposed to give a statement, and it does. But what are you going to do next? So where are the law changes? Where's the legislative change? Where are the meetings where you sit down at these tables and actually talk about what needs to happen? If you're not willing to have a seat at those tables, and you're not willing to do the work on a longevity standpoint, then nothing's ever going to change. And that's the problem, is people aren't willing to do the real work.
Wow. So also in 2020, that's where we seen the presidential debates and the whole thing around the president. And how do you feel? Do you think Black folks that this current president we have, Biden, is good for Black people, or did we get duped?
Ooh, that's loaded. That's loaded, because a lot of what we saw with the politics and the debates last year when it comes to politicians was based on the hatred for Trump. A lot of it. A lot of people had a lot to say, but really never voted. A lot of people had a lot to say, but they didn't really understand what the impact was behind what they felt. Why do you hate Trump? Is it because just the majority of people hate him? Why do you want to vote for Biden? Just because you want Trump out? What exactly are you voting for? And there's so many people that don't know that. So when we ask the question, is it good for Black people? None of this is good for Black people, because what has been the benefit to Black people? What has been the benefit? We have to, as Black people, make sure we're putting people in positions of power and leadership that will actually do something for Black people. It can't be a notion. It can't be potential. It can't be, I'm going to vote for you because you're better than that person. It has to be who is going to ultimately be better for us. And the first thing I would say is we got to be better for us. We have to want better for us. And we have to understand what it means when it comes to politics and how that affects every asset of our life. It's not just politics as far as like laws. It has to do with our educational system, the slavery system that is the mass incarceration system. It's our medical care that we have and don't have. It's a lot. It's a lot encompassed in that. And a lot of folks did not know that. And last year it was just a shit show of being anti-Trump instead of being pro-Black and pro-American. It was the opposite of that. And that landed a lot of the problem because it wasn't clear and it wasn't concise. And we didn't get that. So did anybody really have a good argument when it came to politics? When we talk about what's best for Black people, what do we mean by that? Do we agree as Black people what's best for us? Do we agree within our own community when we talk about what's best for us? Are we holding these politicians accountable when we talk about what's best for us? Are we doing that? No, because they feel like Trump is out of the office, so we're done with politics. Black people went and sat down. We're done with politics. We got him out of the office. We've succeeded. But have we succeeded, though? Have we? Have we truly succeeded? And what does that mean for us? Because we're still dying. We're still, when it comes to medical care and when it comes to, we're talking about like proportionately speaking to other races, do we still get the best of care? No. We're talking about immigrants getting reparations, but we made this and built this land. What do Black people get? Why is nobody talking about that? Our children are not safe. Why is no one talking about that? There's a Black woman killed every 8 hours. Why are we not talking about that? All these conversations are more important than you having a hatred for somebody. What are we going to do as a Black community to come together collectively and stand against all of this? Because it all affects our everyday life. All of it does.
Let's unpack this a little bit more. Sis, if you don't mind, let's unpack this a little bit more. When you see I have the two men on the screen, they both could look like two slave holders.
Absolutely.
You know? I found the brother on YouTube. Excuse me, y'all, clear my throat out. And he did this awesome video talking about how you can, in politics and in the world period, how you can sidestep Black issues. And the way he laid it out was so beautiful because there were talking points. And one of the talking points was to basically say of color, to help the other groups and not Black groups. You know, so when you talked about that reparations bill for, I don't even call it reparations, but I guess it's money owed to the illegal immigrants that came into this country. And then they were stopped at the border and they were housed or, you know, placed somewhere. And now those people may be getting money, you know, some on the tune to $1 million each. And I thought to myself, we were just at the border where the Haitians were. And they treated those immigrant Haitians, those Black folks, like they was, you know, they just immediately sent them back to their country when they could have did the same thing to the Latinos who came to the border. Right. They could have turned them right back around and, you know, but they didn't do that. They took time with them. They housed them. Yep. They processed them. Did not do that for the Haitians. No. But that happened under Biden. Yes. Not Donald Trump. Donald Trump is a lot of things. He talks a lot, but I haven't exactly seen what he's done to Black people. Biden he authored the crime bill. He lobbied for the crime bill. He did all this stuff, and which locked up a lot of Black men. So I don't really understand how Black people could just sidestep all of that. And you know, what is this about? You were there, Leia. You were there. You seen how, you know, you were right there in the front. You seen how they had the Mormons processing the few Haitians they let in. Like, you were right there. This is under Biden, not under Trump. Right. Because under Trump, nobody would have got in because he's an equal opportunity racist. I can respect that because he'll treat everyone the same. He won't give special treatment to any group. So there's something to think about. I know Black folks, that's a hard sell. You know, it's like I heard somebody say once, one of the things that they loved about the South is, at least in the South, you know where you stand. In the North, you don't know where you stand because the people can say they're your friend at the same time, create laws to throw you further back than you've ever seen before in your life. Yes. So with that being said, because I think Trump is going to be back in this next election because I think Biden's made him look really good right now. He's not making you take a mandate. He's not going to make you take the virus.
Yeah. Okay. Wow. That's a lot. That's a lot. I want to go back to what you said as far as how immigrants are treated versus Black immigrants and non-Black immigrants. And what you describe, is the humanization behind it. One is treated like humans.
Yeah.
One is not. And that's our story. That is exactly what we talk about. We're not considered human. Not at all. And we saw that firsthand. We saw how they treated the Haitians as they were coming over for the same reasons that the Latins are coming over. You know, it also comes down to agenda and alignment. You have Latinos that align themselves with white people. They do. And they do it on the prison yard. They do it at the border, and they do it within politics. And because of that, they could become a benefit to these higher ups. Wow. It's a benefit. They get a benefit out of it. They can't control Black people. They can't control our mind. They can't control who we are. They can't control our being because we're the foundation. It comes from our ancestors, and we ride that. We hold that very close to our heart and in the actions in which we show out in the community. So because of that alignment, we present no benefit to them. That's what I believe that's what that stems from. That's what I believe. Now, when I say that, though, we do have to think about, though, what are we willing to do about that, though? When we talk about immigration, that's a greater area, because you have the conversation of what should we do when immigrants do want to cross over and come into America? How should that be handled? Should we create a pathway to citizenship? And if we do, what would that look like? And will that be equally opportunity for everybody? Everybody. Because we saw just locally what happened when it came to the Haitians. They opened the doors for the Palestinians, the Afghans. Yeah. You know, there's shelters in place to where there's housing for them. They have sites where you can go and drop off money and food and clothing for them. That was never done for the Haitians. Never done. And so then we look to our mayors and we look to the government here in California. We wonder, why didn't you do those same things for Haitians?
What was their response?
Their response was, it's not the same thing.
and that they get no money for them fools.
Right. Well, they're not governed under the same rights. Well, what does that mean? What does that come down to? In essence, that's what they're saying, is it comes down to the color of your skin. You're too Black. And we don't want you to come over, because what their fear is us taking over. Their fear is us actually making a way and becoming to be in a position of power that they don't want, because that's really all it's about when it comes to white people, is power. That's really what it all comes down to, power and dictatorship. So, yeah, I mean, we're seeing a lot. And with the vaccine and the mandates, I mean, that's a whole nother monster, and that's causing a problem. It really is. I mean, that is nothing but politics and money. Nothing but. It's not about health anymore.
Oh, never was.
If it's about health, so many other things would be mandated. So many other things would change. So it's not about health. And people talk about this vaccine like it's the great white hope. But we have to think about, on a larger scale, what's really being given to us. What's the greatest picture? You know, why are we talking about this to the magnitude in which we are? Why is this the topic of every single day conversation? Why? Because it's never been that way. It's been politicized, and it's turned into a political circus. And that is why so many people are weary.
So let me ask you this. What can African Americans do? Because here's the missing piece to a lot of what we're saying. Some of us get it, but most of us don't. So as Black folks, there's something special and unique that's owed to us. Not like any other group that's here.
Right.
You know what I mean? Yeah. But sometimes it feels like we don't activate that piece. Like, we'll be over here. We're so fragmented. Some of us believe we need other groups. We really don't. Because when you move out, you really have to have a tight group. You don't need the whole millions. No. See, I think sometimes we say we got to all unite. Unite for what? Some people are our enemies. You can't unite with people because they have the same skin color as you, but they really are working for the other side. Because we've seen that all through slavery. Everything we've done is always, you look at the civil rights movement, you look at the Black Power movement, there's always been infiltrated by people who look like you and I. You know what I'm saying? And then it derails us. But how do we use the benefits, the little benefits that we do have. Because the other thing is that Black people are the pulse of this country. We determine the trends and where things go, but we have never quite figured out how to own it. Like, we've created all kind of stuff, but we've never owned it really, because we really think our value is in how white people see us.
Yes.
Instead of how we treat each other.
Yes.
You know, you look in some communities, like let's just say the Italians, for instance. We know that they have a law in their community. You do some stuff and it's out of pocket, they come see you.
Mm-hmm.
You're not seen again. You understand what I'm saying? Like you know, you treat each other a certain way because there's laws and rules we have for each other.
Yes.
As African Americans, and I'm saying African Americans on purpose. I'm not talking about the rest of the Black folks because they're valuable too. But I think at some part, it's like me trying to save the world and you come in my house and it's dirty. You be like, oh, how are you going to tell people across the street about cleaning their front yard and your front yard is ridiculously dirty? So how do we as Black folks use that beautiful power that we have to pull those of us together, those of us, not everybody, but those of us who share those values?
Right.
To have a plan, like to have a Black agenda.
Yes. Yes.
Like that has to be on the table.
Absolutely. You said it, because we have to have the power. We have a lot of power. Everything that's done is designed after us. Everything, every trend, everything that happens in America is designed after the Black person. It all is. And you know, when we talk about Black people and how we have a tendency to not come together as people, we have to keep in perspective that there were slaves that told Harriet Tubman not to escape. There were slaves that said to her, let's not run, don't leave. The master's good to us. He's given us good portions. He's taking care of us. We're going to stay here. Fast forward that to today's way of thinking. There are so many Black people that think they've made it. They're fine. We're good. It ain't that bad. You know, I got food on my table. I'm okay. I'm alive. I'm okay. So many Black people say, well, how you doing this morning? Well, I'm alive. Why is that the only measure in which you can consider success to be? Why is that seriously the way that you look at life on a greater scale as far as what you should be doing, as far as your own agenda as a Black person? We have to really address what our true agendas are. What is our mission statement as Black people? What is it that we want to accomplish? And it's not going to be aligned the same. It's not going to be the same, because a lot of Black people are comfortable with the scraps that they are given. They're very comfortable with the things that are going on in the world, and they don't care to fight for anything different. So it's not going to be the same. All Black people are not going to always agree. All Black people are not going to come together. They're not. But the one thing that we have in common is that we have been indoctrinated. We have been enslaved, and we are all under the belief that this is just our life and this is just how it's going to be. And because of that way of thinking, there's too many people that are not willing to take the risks to make these changes. There's too many. So the unity, it dissipates. You know, you get it sometimes. You get it on certain holidays. You know, you get it on a good day. But it doesn't last. And the reason why is because so many Black people are comfortable with where they are. And that is the problem. That's the problem.
Sister Leia, I want to show this clip really quick. I'm not going to show it all, but I just want you to listen to some of this. This clip is on Joe Biden set to pay these reparations. But I really want you to listen to some of, it's not just, see, to me, it's just like the latest episode in Let's Shit on Black People.
Okay.
Let's make them the permanent floor for everyone. Let me just play this clip. Let me see if I can get this to do what I needed to do really quick, because it's just me today. So let's see here.
Fingers, say it in the face. Slap.
Joe Biden has been in office. He has literally done absolutely nothing for the Black community. But what we have watched him do is solidify $31 billion for the Native American community, $6.3 billion for the Afghan community. He passed the AAPI hate crime bill, to which he solidified $50 million for the AAPI community, signed an executive order for the LGBTQ community, meeting their demands and needs, as well as signed an executive order for undocumented immigrants, meeting the demands of the Hispanic community, because you have to remember the Hispanic community consists of 75% of undocumented immigrants. Meanwhile, Black Americans got Hip Hop Recognition Month in August, and in November is Hip Hop History Month. You also got Juneteenth and a George Floyd statue. But you know one thing you're not getting is that George Floyd bill. Oh no, that's not happening anymore now, is it? And reparations for the descendants of American slavery? Well, Biden privately told the Congressional Black Caucus that they can forget about that too. Now, none of this is really a surprise now, is it? I mean, Kamala Harris did tell you that she wasn't going to do anything that's specifically for Black people. No.
The reality also is this: any policy that will benefit Black people will benefit all of society. Let's be clear about that. Let's really be clear about that. So I'm not going to sit here and say I'm going to do something that's only going to benefit Black people. No.
And concerning reparations, Joe Biden did tell you that he was going to give your reparations to Hispanics.
Vice President Biden, do you support reparations?
Look, let me, since I haven't spoken on this, got a chance. Number one, the reason we're the country we are is because of immigration. We've been able to cherry pick the best from every single continent. The people who come here have determination, resilience. They are ready to stand up and work like the devil. We have 2,400 children in our school today is Hispanic. The idea that we are going to walk away and not provide every opportunity for them is not only stupid and immoral, but it's bad for America. They are America, and we invest in them. Everybody will benefit from it. Every single American. And you should get used to it. This is a nation of immigrants. That's who we are. That's why we're who we are. That's what makes us different, and we should invest in it.
Thank you, Mr. Biden. Senator Klobuchar, you had your hand up.
And because
Okay. Okay, Sister Leia. Now, hold on, I'm trying to stop the share. Okay. Sorry about that, family. It's just me. That was heavy. I didn't show it all. I'm trying to put the link in the comments, but there it is out of his mouth. So I don't know how. I'm gonna be honest with you. No Black Democrat person could tell me nothing about Joe Biden, like, because I lived through the crime bill. So I knew what it was like when I seen Black men disappearing in my community because they was all sitting in jail for what now is a legal business in America, and you can't own no dispensary. Very few of us do.
Right.
So, and then to see, I feel like Black folks got duped. I just feel like we got duped because sometimes we run on emotions and we run on the fear of what happened to us under white supremacy, under, that. We're afraid of that. And so what happens is then we see somebody talking mess, but we don't look at what they've done. You know how old school you be like, you can say all you want to say about me, just don't put your hands on me. It's like we forgot that second part was like, you could talk all day, but when you put your hand on me, that's a different story.
Right. Right.
You understand what I'm saying?
Yeah.
How do you feel about seeing that piece? Because the whole piece is, he breaks down so many things, but that to me was telling.
Yes, it is. It's very telling, and it's disappointing, but it's America. It's what we've always been dealt. And, America always has a way of reminding us how much they hate us. Always. When I look at that piece, I see just the totally discarding of us as Black people. And every single clip you showed and everybody that voiced and every point he made as far as who's been helped or who's been charitied and not us, it's a hatred toward us as Black people. Black people carried that election. They needed that Black vote. So they fed us everything that Black folks
fed us fear.
Yes. I mean, everything. They fed us hope. If you vote for me, it'll be this way for you. If you vote, I'm going to do X, Y, and Z, for example, with the George Floyd bill. If you vote for me, I'm going to do these things. None of them have happened. So here we are. What are we going to do about that? Here we are. It's almost a year later. So what are Black people? Because that, to me, I'm about resolution. To me, I want to know moving forward, what are we going to do? What are we going to do? What are we going to do as Black people? Because we know it's not right. We know it's not supposed to be this way. We know we got duped. We know we got played. We know that they have no intentions on doing anything for Black folks at all. We know this. So then we have to ask ourselves, sister, do we stop voting? Do we think our vote doesn't matter? right? Because I don't agree. I don't think that that's the answer, you know. Or do we hold these people accountable and make decisions and make sure that we rise up as Black people to do something about it? Think about these cultures. Think about these systems with the Asian bill. They were mad about it for 3 months. 3 months, the Asians came out and said, we want to stop Asian hate for 3 months. And they got a bill in 3 months. Black folks have been enslaved. Black folks have been oppressed. Black folks have suffered and gone through everything we've gone through, and we've received nothing. Nothing. So what are we going to do as Black people? What are we going to do about that? And that to me is the greater question, because that's disgusting what I saw there. You know, that right there is telling. That right there, that's the world that we're living in. And that's what we voted for. This is what we got. This is what we got. This is where we are. So do we say, okay, well, maybe they didn't have enough time to get to us yet?
No, hell.
You know what I mean? Right.
Top on the list.
Right. But that's the mind frame that people have. Well, you know, it's only been 2 months. It's only been 6 months. Now it's only been a year. But we were supposed to be at the head of that totem pole, though. That's
the Native Americans, and there's less Native Americans than we are.
Yes.
He gave them something directly.
He
gave the Asians something directly.
All of them got something.
The transgender gay community, he gave them something.
Yes.
He gave the Asians something. Who else he gave something to? He gave cats and dogs something. Damn it.
Yeah.
But he have nothing. And then when asked a question about reparations, how do you talk about Hispanics and reparations?
Right.
They weren't enslaved here for 400 years. Are you crazy?
No, I don't understand that mind frame, but I definitely know where it comes from. And it goes back to what I said about the alignment. It's beneficial for them. And that's the only thing that they're going to raise up for, is something that's beneficial for them. And that's what that represents to them. So for us, we are not considered somebody that's deserving of anything to them at all. Because at the end of the day, they're thinking, when they think of us, they're thinking, what you going to do about it? What are you going to do about it? You've always been enslaved. You've always been oppressed. You're always angry about something. You know, to them, it's us having our hand out for something. It's not, they don't look at it that it's owed to us. They aren't looking at it that way. But we have to. We have to look at it that way. We have to demand for something different. We got to rise up to the occasion. We have to put these people and hold them accountable and put them in positions of making sure that they're accountable. We have to do that. And we have the power to do so, Ro. I believe we do.
I agree. I feel like we got to know our ancestors. Because don't forget, they survived these people when they was flat out wicked. Like, most of this shit is a mind game. It really is a mind game. And so the game is to feel like you are nothing without me. And some of us believe that. Yes. Like yesterday, I had the awesome opportunity to go hear a Black orchestra. It was a pianist and a violinist. They were awesome. But so it was Black, bougie, middle-class Sacramento. A lot of sorority and fraternity people. And, you know, these are those Negroes. And I thought to myself, I enjoyed the music. It was great. But as I looked around at these Negroes, I thought to myself, they're here thinking that they have arrived. And half of the homeless in Sacramento looks just like everybody in this goddamn room. I just was like, wow, we cannot depend on them. I feel like sometimes we don't understand our power. We could really do some amazing things, because Black folks, if you take your energy back, the whole thing will fall.
Yes.
Because in order for this country to stand, it has to have a bottom class. It just does. It has to have a slave labor. It has to have a bottom class. And it's been us. But if we stand up, you know what I mean? Do very basic, simple stuff. It's not even like this magical thing. If you want to vote, I say vote. I say do whatever. But none of that stuff really matters. I'm going to be flat out honest. We have groups here who do not vote, and they get what they want. We know that a lot of the Asian community are undocumented as well. Yeah. But look at the power that they wield. Mm-hmm. It is not because they're all going to the voting booth. Let's not get it twisted. But they have their own power. They have their own banks. They have an investment in their own selves. So they don't care if white people don't like them. They don't care. They're like, we don't really mess with y'all like that either. We're just going to buy your whole country up. We don't really care about you. But I looked at all of those middle-class Negroes, and I was like, why you Negroes ain't buy up the city? See, and all that bullshit, because y'all, you know what I mean? Like, what does that mean? Why are we into joining social clubs? Just so we can sip some tea and eat some funny-looking sandwiches? Like, come on.
That's classism.
That's exactly what I seen last night. I seen classism and colorism last night. I'm not going to say it's front, but I just was sitting there like, okay, I got invited to this. It was great. It was really awesome and all of that. And we got to, you know, be whatever the hell we were trying to be. But I thought to myself, this is why we don't really get anything, because we think people like that, because all of them in the room are attached to Black people who made some awesome sacrifices. They can sit up on their booty and listen to some music and be like, oh my God, that is great music. Man, get the hell out of here. Like, that did not get us through the field. A violinist did not get us through the field.
Right.
Even though the brother was an excellent piano player that was there last night. I got to give it up to the brother. He was absolutely awesome. But I thought to myself, I wouldn't mind the room being like this if Black people in Sacramento were being cared for.
Yeah.
I would not care if you was listening to two turds sit on the stage singing. I wouldn't give a damn. But the fact that we have this ideal of that we arrived, well, it's like me being like, I'm fine, and the rest of my family is crazy.
Yep.
Like, people be like, do you not see your community? There is shit everywhere.
Right.
But look, my corner is shit free.
Mm-hmm.
Even though the shit is knocking on my door.
Right, right. And that's it. You said it though, but that's exactly what's happening. That's exactly what the problem is that people are not going to do anything about where we are and where we need to be unless it affects them at their doorstep. They're just not. There's too many Black people that think that they have made it, that they have arrived, that my life is doing good, or they're under the mind frame of, I did what I had to do to get to where I am. You need to do it too. Yep. There's not that camaraderie of sisterhood and brotherhood and Black people getting together and doing these things together. That's not here. That's not what we see. There's a lot of work being done that's done off camera and off social media. A lot. There are a lot of Black people here, and they are doing great things. Okay, I do have to say that. There's a lot of that. But there's also a lot of horrible competition when it comes to Black people. It's a horrible thing within our Black community of the competition thing. I'm not going to do too much to help you to where you get taller or higher on that totem pole than me.
Wow.
I might throw you a couple crumbs, but I'm not going to give you enough to be more successful than I am. And it's too much of that. It's too much of that. If you know where the table is, bring your brothers and your sisters to that table too. If you know where the bigger crumbs are, tell your brothers and sisters where the bigger crumbs are. Because when they win, you win. That's what we need to get in the mind frame. It's all of us together collectively. If my brother and my sister is shining, they're making me shine. I'm shining because that's what I want of my brothers and sisters. That's what I want. It shouldn't be a competition matter of, you know, it's the crabs in a bucket mentality. It really is. It really is. You know, it's I'm gonna put that ladder down that tunnel just enough for you to hang on to, but I'm not gonna bring you totally up out of it, because then there's a chance that you might be more successful than I am.
That's real talk. That's real talk.
And so they hoard this information and they hoard the benefits, because collectively us, you know, we can own the block. We should own our own communities. We should have our own grocery store. We should have our own everything. The Asians and the Palestinians and the Afghans and the Indians, they come into our communities and they own it. They buy it up. Entire communities that we live in. And then they dictate how we're going to be in our community. They are profiting off of us as Black people when we are totally in position to be able to own our own communities. 100%. Everywhere you go, there's a Chinatown. Everywhere you go. There's an Asian Chinatown area everywhere you go. Yeah. Now there's a ghetto and there's a hood everywhere we go too. But why is there not a Black Wall Street? Why is there not a Black community that's owned by Black people in every single city and state across the country? Because we can do it. We are in a position to do it. But why are we not doing it?
Right on.
It comes down to that one piece of just comfortable. People are comfortable. They're fine. I own my house and my house is cool. I'm doing good here. I'm successful. I'm fine. It comes down to that, and it comes back to not knowing your worth.
I agree.
Power.
I feel like that was the hope that people were feeling when there were all the protests in 2020. You know, that's usually how things start off, with like a rumble. You know what I mean? But then all they have to do is give people, I don't know, free watermelon, and people go back in the house. They give you like a good stimulus check, and next thing you know, Negro's not working. You know, it's always it's the when you're willing to be like, I don't care, I'm gonna give up everything, that's when change comes. But if you're begging for a job, then that's you're cool. I can control you. If you're begging for some spinning rims, get this Negro a spinning rim. He'll have a seat. You don't want to mess his rims up. You know what I mean? It's always like it's like the rumble is not big enough. Sister, when you write long paragraphs, I can't share them because they're too long. I just want to tell you that because that's why I didn't put it up. And then Sister Kimberly is basically saying policy. Sis, that is not the answer. I want y'all to do history for real, like no disrespect, but we have had every policy known to man in this country. Hell, we had the Emancipation Proclamation, and that did not help Black people. Go to the lynching memorial. They lynched more Black people immediately after the Civil War than any time in history. Babies, children, men, women, Black people who were crippled, blind. Go to the lynching memorial in Montgomery, Alabama. Policies is not going to help Black folks because then people have to implement the policy. Hell, we have a whole group, the police force, who have policies on how they're supposed to treat everybody. Why don't they treat Black people like that under the policy? Under the law. Tell me why they don't treat Black people like it is written in the book. But we know this. We watch Cops when it used to come on. A white man is running for his life. They, cusses him out, call him a bunch of motherfuckers. Sir, this is the police. Sir, we're going to handcuff you, sir. We're going to hey, sir. A Black man is running for his life, and they shoot this man in the back. This man is running for his life. They get him, and they body slam him to the ground. Break his jaw, break his neck, that was all in policy. So it's you can write a million things on a book that is not going to save Black people. See, this is the time when you get off your ass. David Chappelle said, when you're on the bus, he said, you're supposed to get off the bus and do something. He left his 50 million on the bus. That's right. See, the niggas would have took the 50 million and then told us about what we should be doing. That's what a real Negro would have did. The Negroes that we know. He said he got off the bus and did something and left they shit on the bus. Basically is what he said. No policy is going to make us do that in our heart. You have to do that from your own self-worth. So the policy thing, you got to give Black folks another answer besides this voting stuff. We done voted, crowded, corroded. We done did everything. We done camped out on the White House lawn. We done did all kind of shit. We done cleaned their toilets. We done fought in every war. We have died in every war. We continue to die in every war. We settled the West. We settled the East. We built the South. I mean, I think our ancestors are telling us we have done all that we're going to do. Now we're going to have to do the real work. And this is where you get to see who's down with Black folks and who's an enemy of Black folks. There's only two things you could be here. There is no middle ground. You're either with us or you're against us. You're either for us or you're against us. I don't know what else to tell you. Yeah. Because that's how other groups build. I understood this when this is in the 90s. I don't know if you remember this, but in Sacramento in the 90s, there was a time when they would not give the illegal immigrants, for this most part, were mostly Latinos, who came and cleaned your buildings. They came and cleaned the state buildings and all that stuff. They went on a walkout because they weren't getting health care or something like that. And then the Hispanic caucus, they were all on board with each other. They didn't tell them keep cleaning that thing and maybe one day we'll get y'all health care. They was like, walk the hell out because we got your back. And then next thing you know, that shit didn't last too long because they went and got them people some health care. See how that worked? Yeah. They weren't just pretty Hispanic faces up in the Capitol like, we've arrived. We're a part of this body. We've always been a part of the body. Who you think was cleaning the body? You know what I mean? So having the Black caucus, what does that mean? It feels like a carcass. That's what it feels like, because these are Negroes that are there, but they always doing some shit with a pen. No, we need your pen to be in the street. So we can stop voting for people who don't really like us, who locked up all the Black men, who tell Black people, I'm not going to just do something for Black people. This is what y'all so-called whatever she is said. You know what I'm saying? I do think Black when it's convenient. You know what I mean? She get to be Black when it's all the ghetto shit. When she like, I smoke weed, I listen to Tupac, I got hot sauce in my purse. Like, that does not make you Black. It really doesn't. Yeah. So don't get me started. Just damn it, don't get me started. Because it's just so annoying.
It is. It is. I know that. I know that I have to be responsible to say that voting. I do believe that people should vote, and our vote does matter, and it is very important that we do vote. So I don't want to give the impression that that your vote doesn't matter, that we shouldn't vote. I think that I know that we as Black people are tired. We're tired of being tired. We're tired of voting. We're tired of carrying the whole election and then nothing being done for us. I totally get that. And we're all accurate in feeling that way. But when we think about what's on the table and we think about what's at stake, what are we going to do as far as that vote? We can't stop the vote. We can't stop getting out there and voting for a better and for a change. We have to do that because what's at stake, what's on the table?
Voting. Did you get that? Voting without works is dead.
Absolutely.
So
no, there's definitely.
I'm not telling you not to vote. I didn't say don't vote, but don't tell me that that's the answer because it isn't.
Well, it's not the only answer. Just like policy is not the only answer, but policy is a part of the change that needs to happen, though. It's an accumulation of everything involved. It's not just one thing that's going to change anything for us. It is an accumulation of a lot of things that do have to happen. Absolutely. Right. So policy changes and procedure changes, it's a part of it too. Voting is a part of it too. All of that is a part of what we have to do. It is because what's on the table, when it comes to educational system, we have to vote for changes when it comes to that. Whether women have the right to get an abortion or not, we have to vote for the changes with that, for the filibuster, for all these things that do matter to us, that we do need as Black people. Voting does matter.
You're right. I'm not disagreeing. You know what's funny? The sister here, Muhammad, which is so true. That's why I don't trip on that part, because no other group is relying on the law or their vote to get their freedom. No other group here is doing that because they can always make a law to oversee that law. My Uncle Stanley, bless him, he was born in 1923. He said the white man would never make a law that will convict himself. Never. He would never make a law that's going to impact who he is and his power. It's almost like an illusionary thing. I always vote. Let me say something. I'm a voter. I vote out of respect for my ancestors. That's why I vote. Yeah. I don't vote because I think it's going to change my status. I'm going to be honest with you. I vote out of respect for my ancestors. This is a part of my civic duty as an American. See, I can deal with the truth. You ain't got to lie to me. You ain't got to doctor shit up for me and make me believe. I know it is what it is. But my thing of it is, what I do know, only thing that's going to change my outcome is how Ro moves, how she talks to people, how she communicates with people, what she gives to her community, what she invests in, what she buys. That's what's going to impact me and mine.
Right.
Nobody else has control over what Ro going to do.
Well, that's when you made the statement about doing something. That's where that comes from, is the do something. Where's the do something? Not enough people are out here willing to do something. That's the revolutionary piece that people don't have. And that comes from our ancestors. We got it. It's in us.
Right on.
Why is it not being activated? It has to be activated. That do something has to happen because you're right. No one's going to do something for us. Your boss is never going to pay you enough money to have a better house than him. Ever. So if you ever think you're going to make it working for somebody else, they're never going to put you in a position to be greater or better than them, ever. So where's that do something piece? And that's the piece that I often talk about. Where's the do something? We can complain all we want. You can write a social media post all you want. You can have this fake rage and this fake anger and all this, temporary shit. But where's the do something? What are you willing to do to get it? What are we willing to do? Because we saw what our ancestors went through, what they were willing to do to be free.
That's right.
We saw that. So we have to, in essence, think of it the same way. What are we willing to do to be free? Free, not free-ish, but free. What are we willing to do?
Right on. Right on.
That's what it comes down to.
Hey, look, I always say sometimes you getting the hell out the way is doing something. When you see your sister or brother trying to get something, don't stand up and block. Be like, you know what? I may feel some kind of way because I'm not doing it, but don't let me stop them. It's kind of like when you're in class and the kid don't want to learn and they think it's their right to stop everybody else from learning. No, all they got to do is get up. I don't care if you get up, walk out in the hallway. Thank God. Don't disturb other people's grind.
Yeah. Well, not just disturbing it, but don't judge other people's grind. There's two ways to skin a cat, like my daddy used to say. So I may chisel at the roof to get to where I need to get. You may build a tunnel, but in essence we're doing the same thing.
Right on.
So that judgment has to stop. There's a huge judgment with the Black community of, I don't like her approach. I don't like her delivery. I don't like the things that she says. I don't like the things she doesn't say. There's that judgment piece instead of listening to the words that is coming out of somebody's mouth, actually sitting down and having meaningful conversations with a person. A lot of times we don't know who that person is. We know what their image is. The image is what they see, right? Perception is not always reality. So a lot of times we as Black people need to actually sit down with our brother and our sister and get to know them and ask all those important questions about why they feel what they feel. And that's the way we can get to a greater place, because I think we're all fighting for the same thing. I really do. I really do.
I don't think so. I think so.
For different reasons. For different reasons, I know that we in essence want the same as far as freedom, as far as better, greater education and safety and security, all these things that we want for our families. We want it. We're going about it in a bunch of different directions.
Layla, I agree with you, but not all of us. I think that's a part of the warfare that our enemy uses to keep us down. That's how you get infiltrators in. I don't think all Black people want the same thing. Some Black people's job is to keep Black people down. And I feel like if we don't recognize them, because I think we're the only group that feel like we have to reform people. That's not my job. Like when I'm trying to build a house, I don't have time to keep stopping and counseling you and look, you're not ready to build this, go on somewhere. I got to stay on my grind. That's the only way we're going to make it at this stage of the game. And the reason why I'm saying that is that's the mistake we make. We think all Black people want Black people to be free. No, some of us want Black people to be enslaved. Some of us want us to be under other people. Then we don't want the same thing. And here's my thing. That's okay. That's okay. Because some of us, I've seen it. I've seen it.
Well, we're not all on the same playing field, and we're not all at the same space as far as evolution goes. We're not.
And we're not all the same family. Let's just be honest.
Well, there were Black people that helped the white people enslave us. There were Black people that took the Black woman to the slave to get raped and beat too. So yes. And that's what we see. That's what we see in our community when we know we're not safe and we're not protected. That's what we're seeing, us as Black women specifically. That's exactly what we're seeing out here. We're not all at the same level. Growth wise.
And we're not all on the same book.
Yeah.
Here's the thing. That's a hard. If you are a builder, I feel where you're coming from. But I just feel like, look, if I meet somebody and we all about that life, we rolling. But you ever do something with someone and all y'all agree to something, and along the way you realize this person is not really who they say they are? Yes. What do? Do you convince them that no? Or do you be like, you know what, we're gonna have to drop your ass because dude, the mission is bigger than you dealing with your bullshit. You ain't ready yet.
Right, for sure.
You ain't ready.
For sure. Oh, absolutely. I mean, you got to separate yourself from some people. Yeah, everybody is not ready.
I'm gonna throw something at you, Leia, and I hope you take this and see, because I feel like these. So, say in our community there was a predator. Because it's really like every 6 hours a Black woman is murdered. It's like every 6 hours, because I keep up with Black femicide.
Yes.
So, or rape is rampant in our community, and I'm saying all of these things towards Black women because Black women, we are the world. Like, if you can't even get here unless you come through a woman.
Right.
You understand what I'm saying? Right. So it's like saying, if we don't protect the earth, then none of us is gonna live, because she the one who bears all the fruit, and then we ain't got nothing to eat. We out of here, right? If the water's dirty, we out of here. So what do we do with the predators in our communities to make our community safe?
Well, we have to acknowledge them as being predators first and foremost.
Okay, 12 step.
Okay. we have to. We have to acknowledge it. We have to be real about it. Uncle Ray that comes to the family reunion every year is raping the kids, but he's still invited to the family reunion every year. Why is that? People can talk about R. Kelly and everybody else that's going through these rape, allegations and rape convictions, but there's rapists right here in our backyard. There's rapists in your family. There's rapists in the community. There are predators that call themselves activists and community leaders. They're right here. What are we going to do about that? What are we going to do about it? We have to acknowledge it, and we have to cut it off where it is. We cannot continue to protect predators. We can't protect them. And in protecting them is pretending that they don't exist. When they do exist, and they are here. And it has to be dismantled. It has to be. It has to be talked about, and it has to be acknowledged. You know, I don't like us not calling a thing. And that's done too much. It's done too much. You know, there are abusive men out here that are abusive toward us as Black women.
That's African culture. I'm being facetious.
I know. No.
African culture. That's what man does. That's a part of their manhood. That's bullshit we be talking.
Yeah, and it's just not. And because of that mindset, what happens is that we're raising abusers to think that it's okay to abuse. We're raising them. So we're creating more generations of abusers because we're telling these men that this is just what you're supposed to do. It's that macho piece in you. Don't take no shit. You're supposed to be able to slap your woman and tell her to sit down, because us as women are supposed to just sit, you know, and speak when spoken to. That is that mindset. That's abusive. That's the big narcissistic part of what's happening and directly in our community. And we have to stand against that. We have to stop being secretive about what's happening in our families. Your child is being raped right in your home, and you're being secretive about it. You don't want to talk about it. You're allowing your child to be abused, but you don't want to say anything. And why is that? Well, because, you know, my boyfriend here is paying all the bills. He's taking care of me. I don't want to be embarrassed and humiliated if we have to break up. So I have to keep him in this home in our family structure because he's taking care of everything. What will happen to me if I get rid of my boyfriend? What will happen if I kick him to the curb, or if I turn him in and he goes to jail, or if I break up with him? What's going to happen to my home? That is the mindset of so many Black women. So many. They stay in abusive situations because they believe they will continue to have a better life. And what they're doing is they're selling their children. They're selling them. And they're creating men and women that will one day be men and women of this community that will continue to abuse. And it's a cycle that has to be broken. It's a horrible thing. You know, Black people, what are we told as kids? You don't talk about what happens in this house.
What happens in this house
stays in this house, right? It stays in this house. Okay. Now we've taken that to, and I'm guilty. I said the same thing to my kids too, but we've taken that to a whole nother degree of victimhood and abuse, you know, and things that are happening that are just repulsive things that are happening in our households right now as we speak. And Black women feel like there's no other way. That's not knowing your worth. That's that piece we touched on earlier, is not knowing your worth and not knowing your value and not willing to do something in order to get yourself out of the situation that you're in. And because you don't think that you're any better than what it is, you believe that you deserve exactly what's happening to you. That's the indoctrination that's been put into a lot of Black women, is that they believe that they're deserving of what's happening to them. And that's just how it's supposed to be. Or some may think, you know, I was abused as a child too, but I'm successful. You know, I'm fine now, you know, so they think that the cycle has to continue because that's just how it is from the beginning of time. That's what happened to us as Black women. And so these systems still stay in place. And I love this, what you're showing. I love that, because that's what I was referring to when I talked about the judgment of the way we as Black women speak about our anger and our trauma and our rage, and the way we present it to the world and how it's judged. These women right here are our ancestors, right? They paved the way. We wouldn't be who we are today without these women. These women left a blueprint for us to follow. These women were great women of their time. And they all suffered, though. Don't think they didn't suffer. Don't think they didn't go through things. They went through things, and they did suffer. And there were consequences for the strong women that they were. They were consequences because of that. We have to be willing to endure those same consequences to have a better life and to do something in every way possible when it comes to us. And they were willing to do that. They took that risk. They did something. They had that revolutionary mind of, I see something that needs to be changed, damn it, and I'm gonna get out there and I'm gonna change it. And whatever happens, happens.
Right on.
Many folks are not willing to take that risk. They don't want to, because they're comfortable. Yeah.
Sister Kimberly said something, and I'm so with you, sister. She said, enabling predators versus empowering children after trauma. That's why I'm not with the restorative justice BS. Because I think it's a way of letting predators somehow be victims, and then they victimizers don't get anything. I've seen that a lot in circles. It's like we don't do accountability well. You know, it's like if you sold crack to somebody, I don't care if it's because you were hungry, you have to pay the consequences for selling death. And I'm not trying to be funny, but that's one of the reasons why it's like, are Black people capable of self-governing? And sometimes I think we're not. Because when it comes to that accountability piece, we want to talk about white supremacy. We'll talk about everything except for when he's like, dude, you did this and here's a consequence. And then you deal with it. But you can't put stuff on other people. So I agree with that. It's an enabling process. And maybe it's because we really do as women hold men higher than we do women. The same way our president holds every other group more important than he does Black folks. See, to me, it's all the same thing. You know what I mean? So I absolutely agree with you. Sister Vet says the part of the strong woman, he said, that part of that strong woman syndrome, which is overrated. And I don't mean strong women in just taking BS. These women, all of them except for two, are ancestors, because Angela Davis is still here and Asada Shakur is still here. She's in Cuba. So, but I feel like the strong women thing sometimes can affect you when you're so strong that you can't check yourself. Because I think strong women are definitely, I know I'm the product of strong women. Absolutely. But I feel like I watch a lot of strong women, because power sometimes absolutely corrupts sometimes, that when you know something is wrong, but you have to be strong in your stance, because then you would have to tell yourself that that was wrong. And some of us as human beings, we have a hard time recognizing when we may have screwed up or made a mistake. We act like that means we have to jump off a cliff. You know what I mean? Instead of be like, you know what? I was totally wrong. I got duped. I made a mistake and I'm sorry. To me, that's a strong woman.
Well, there's a lot of definitions of a strong woman. I don't know that it's overrated. I think that that's just who we are. I mean, it's in our blueprint. It's in our foundation. I mean, it's who we are as far as our bloodline and just being strong women. Strong women, know the definition of that is going to be different per person, though. Everybody's going to have a different definition of what that is. Strong doesn't mean that you always have to arrive to the circumstance. You know, there's going to be weak moments. There's going to be times when you have to be vulnerable. Strong doesn't mean you never cry. Strong doesn't mean you never fall. Strong doesn't mean you don't have disappointment. Strong doesn't necessarily mean that. Strong means that we have to have the endurance to continue to endure. That's what we have to have, because we have no other choice. We have to keep going. We have to keep going. When the slaves, escaped from the slave encampments, they had no choice but to keep running and to keep going. There wasn't a time when they felt like, I just can't be strong today. I'm gonna go back to the master. No, we have to continue to push. We have to. We don't have a choice in that. I don't think I do. I don't have too many people depending on me. I don't have a choice but to be strong and continue to hold my head up. That doesn't mean that there aren't days that my head hangs low. That doesn't mean that there are days where I miss the mark and I just haven't had a good day. We as Black people, we are resilient. We are the epitome of what resilient is. And I go back, Ro, to what we saw out at the border with the Haitians. And I remember the stories that I heard these women talk about. And just the amount of countries that they walked through to get to the border, and what they had to endure, and swimming in snake infested water, and giving birth on the way through the jungle, giving birth on the way, giving birth in the middle of the jungle, grabbing that baby, separating that placenta from the umbilical cord, and you keep walking. That's the epitome of resilience. That's the epitome of strength. They had a mission. They knew, I have to get there. And when I saw, we couldn't understand a lot of the language barriers that were there, but we saw, if nothing else, the strength of a Black woman, the strength of it, the embodiment of what it means to be strong. So no, strong doesn't always look that way. These women look tired. They look like they've been through a lot, but the strength piece, the strength was still there. So I don't know that I don't believe that it's overrated. But I do know that there is a higher expectation that we live up to, and that is overrated. Maybe that's what the system means.
Yeah.
That there's always that expectation that we are just supposed to always be all right, and that we can take whatever's thrown at us and whatever we have to carry on our shoulders, just deal with it. Because after all, y'all was slaves. So you should just be dealing with it, right? I mean, that's the mindset.
That's real talk, sis. I think what's underrated is all the trauma that our bodies experience, and yet we still manage to get other human beings here.
Yes. Yes.
Now that's what's underrated.
It is.
We go through a lot of trauma in the body, and then people just expect for us to just fly on through. Like, you know, girl, you got this.
Right.
You know,
right.
You got this.
Yeah.
You know, no, sometimes you don't got this.
No. You know, a Black woman walking into the doctor's office and saying I'm in pain versus a white woman walking in that same doctor's office and saying I'm in pain is going to get two different results.
Girl, you better go ahead.
Two different results. Because after all, they see a Black woman presenting in front of them and they look at you and they say, "What, you're in pain?" You know, and all the education this doctor got, he still, as a white doctor, is going to look at a Black woman and question your level of pain and question how much pain are you really in? Because you Black, after all, you're a Black woman.
Right
you
on.
can't really be in that much pain. But the white woman, she will get everything that's afforded to her. They're going to run tests. They're going to send her to specialists, have a seat, let her cry on the couch.
I was don't let her start crying.
You know, I mean,
that's kryptonite.
Yeah. I mean, but we can. And that's really a part of the sisterhood that needs to be here. You know, I know a lot of sisters in this community, sisters that I never get together with. A lot of sisters I've never even actually had a face-to-face conversation with, but it appears that you know them just because you see them on social media so regularly. We got the feeling that we know that person, but we really don't. We don't get together enough as sisters and have that true, genuine sisterhood with no agendas involved. No agendas involved. It's true sisterhood where we're allowed to be vulnerable and we're allowed to truly be sisters. There's not enough of that. There's not. And it needs to be. I think that has a lot to do with why we're not successful as a community.
Sis, so let's do this as we wrap up. Give us some tips because sometimes I feel like people don't know how to do that. Sometimes we don't know how to some of us are natural, like social butterflies, as they call them. I could talk to people on the bus stop. People walk by, hey, how you doing? Like, I don't even know this person. But how would you recommend that we start to do that? And sisters in the room, if y'all have some ideas, we'd love to hear them. How do you think we can start getting together? And somebody put something to some of the, I'm sorry for that thing. So how do you suggest we do that?
I think we have to let go of the expectation that we have in our mind about how people are supposed to be. I'm very guilty of this myself. I see things said or done, and my first instinct is to critique it, or my first instinct is to compare it to my own way of thought. And that's not always fair because everybody brings something to the table, as we all do. And collectively together, we'll get to that greater good. But I think we have to let that expectation go down and understand that we have to accept people as they are and where they are. And it's not going to always be at the same place that we are. It's not going to always be that way, but we have to be able to support one another. There are sisters in this community that are striving to get to a better place. There are sisters that are struggling, as we talked about, just with the family situation is a great example. If a sister calls and says, matter of fact, I'm going to use a actual factual example.
Okay.
I had a sister call me 1:00 in the morning. Don't know where she got my number from, but she called me and her daughter had just informed her that she was sexually assaulted by a family member.
Oh.
I answered the call. I went out there, met with the family, met with the daughter. This family is terrified of the system. Okay. They want nothing to do with it. Why? Because they don't want CPS involved. They don't want anybody coming into their home. She was terrified to call the authorities on this man. Terrified. Because she was worried about the authorities coming in. She said, I have a warrant out for some tickets. I don't want to be arrested. I have things going on in my house. I don't want the police to know. So what she was not willing to do is protect her baby because she wanted to protect everything and everybody else. That's a very factual example of what's going on in our communities. That was a moment where this sister needed something from me She needed the answer from me, but she's terrified of the results. But she was vulnerable enough to allow me to come in and put it all out on the table. This is me. This is my life. This is what's going on. When I said, well, why don't we go ahead and go this route? You want to go ahead and do this? Why don't we do this? Oh, I can't do that, sister, because if I do that, this will happen. That is what we're dealing with. And if I went in there with a judgment and with the expectation that she should be running her house the same way I do, then I would not have been able to help her. So for me, it came down to, we got to get this baby help.
Right. I
can help you secondary, but this baby that now is the priority. We got to get this baby some resources. And I was able to do that. So we have to end that expectation. We have to be willing to meet people where they are and accept them from where they are. And we have to be willing to check one another in a loving, sisterly way. We have to accept it. And we have to be able to give it. I can't have a real anything with you if I can't have a real conversation with you. If you have hurt me, if you have disrespected me, if you have let me down and I can't tell you that, then we have no reason of having any type of relationship. No reason, because I can't be real with you. And if we can't have that, then it's meaningless. We get nowhere. I can't help you and you can't help me that way.
Right on.
I didn't see the one right before that.
Oh, sorry. This one right here?
Yeah, right before that.
This one.
Oh, a birth certificate one. Okay.
Okay. I agree with you wholeheartedly, sister. I have never known a person who signed their kids over to the system. I've never seen that. But when you're in a community that don't, I haven't. I'm not even going to front on it because I've been doing this work for like 30 years. I've seen people in situations where they didn't necessarily have a choice. So let me just say this, because I think this is one of the things that get misconstrued. Because I understand when people say stuff, but I think sometimes we don't think about it in real time. Let me explain what I say. So if you belong to a community that do not have structure, see, this is not 1962 when you can call up the Black Panthers and they come and beat this man's ass and we take care of it. That's not where we live. So I feel like there's always this, when I'm working with girls, there's always this thing where they get to really understand that what happens to them means nothing if something's happened to them by the hands of a male. Because we will go all out and protect that male, but not the girl, especially if the protector is a woman. She will protect her son. She will protect her husband. She will protect her boyfriend and her baby daddy. So those things about the system being bad, well, who would the person turn to? Where they supposed to go get help? Yeah. So we got to really be very careful how we say things, you know what I mean? Because I feel like, yeah, there's some people who, hey, I don't want my kid, whatever. But then there's a lot of people like, I really don't have a choice. I work in juvenile hall. There's 2 girls in juvenile hall right now, and they look like us, who are pregnant. Thank God they're going to be getting out before they had a baby. But if they was to have their child, where do you think their child's going to go, especially if they was in foster care? So they didn't sign their kid over to the foster care system. That's just the way the system go. But because our community is not set up to where one of us can come take the child, you know what I mean? So it's I just feel like as Black folks, it's not this thing of just blanketing statements. There's these little integral things that happen. You know, when I worked at the Birthing Project, I was a foster care parent when I was 19 because the women that I worked for, we was taking people's kids home, trying to keep them out the system. People don't do that anymore because now you can get a paycheck. So we got to do, it ain't like, let's do it because let's save our own. Yeah. Some of that stuff people talk and it's like a good novel. And then they put the shit down and close the book and it's the end of it. Right. You know what I'm saying? Because now everything is about the money. Like we have this relationship with money where it's kind of scary a little bit because we have to think, you can get a check for that. I can't tell you how many times I heard people say that. And I'd be like, dude, like, come on. We have a whole foster care system that people have retired from. They done made so much goddamn money. Yeah.
Yeah. I see it often with mental illness. My sister was killed. And so I raised her son and he had, and still does have mental illness. And I can recall him being in these facilities and I would go visit him and these other children would never get visits. And I'd go 2-3 times a week and I would see that it was the same handful of kids that got visits, and the other ones, you just look at them on the other side of that window and they got no visits. A lot of families throw away relatives with mental illness. They don't understand it, and they feel like there's no other way. And so they allow them to go to the system, and that's, it goes back to doing the work and goes back to doing something. It is very exhausting, and it's not easy. And there's a lot of days where you're going to feel like, I can't do this. I'd rather just relieve this part of my life just to get my life back. And so in that instance, with mental illness and with children of disabilities, they are thrown away and they are given to the system. There's a lot of people that feels like it's so much easier to go about that than doing the work and going through it, and getting through those tough times. So I see it when it comes to that, but I do understand what you're saying, because it's very factual, and it's scary. It's scary. This system is, the family court system, CPS, all these systems, they're not for us. They're not designed to reunite families. They're not designed to help families at all. At all. They're not. And, it's difficult. It's a very difficult thing to see.
You know what the other crazy part about it is too, is that sometimes you get in those systems and some of the people that's supposed to help us look just like us.
Well,
that's the mind fuckery. You know what I'm saying? That's
it is. And I'm gonna tell you, I often one of the projects that I work on is sex trafficking here in Sacramento, and the Children's Receiving Home over on Watt in Auburn is a cesspool for sex trafficking. Cesspool. And I've spent many nights and throughout the night and sat on that corner, and I've watched the staff open up the gate and let the kids out at night and tell them all you got to do is be back in the morning. I've watched those kids hop that fence and the staff allowing them to. I've watched the staff walk across the street and smoke weed with the kids right there in front of Denny's. I've watched them have the kids go across the street in that parking lot so that they can fight real quick before we go back to the receiving home. I've seen it happen. I've seen it happen with my own eyes, and they are people that look like us, and but I also, in talking about the Haitians too, remember when we were there at ICE, a lot of the Haitian people were very leery of us as Black Americans. And one of the major reasons for that is that when you go inside those ICE facilities, they look like us.
Yep.
The staff, the police, the oppressors look like us. They are Black Americans. Yep. And so, it's sad. It's sad when we turn on our own. It's sad when we can sell out our own. It's really sad when we're put in a position to be able to help somebody. We're put in a position, when you work at a receiving home, foster care, any of these entities that hold and house children, you have a very distinct responsibility that can change a child's life forever. Forever. Group homes, all of these things. Like, you have a responsibility there. You've been blessed with a tool to be able to impact these children's lives so that they can one day be a greater human being forever. And when you exploit them, and when you throw them out there and allow them to be harmed even further, you are no different than the oppressor. No different. Wow. And that's sad. But that goes back to holding our people accountable, though. We have to be willing to look our people in the face and call it out for what it is and tell them exactly what it is that they're doing that's wrong. We have to be able to do that. We can't not talk about it. We can't do the protecting. See, that goes back to protecting the male abuser. We can't protect another sister out here in the community that's doing some damage to our children or to, the bigger circle. We can't do that. We have to be able to hold them accountable and tell them what they're doing wrong.
No matter how cute he is, no matter how long his penis is, no matter how long he looks at you and smile and say sweet things to you. Because it be all of those kind of things. I ain't lying.
No.
Women groom other girls for men because they like him and they hope maybe he gonna like them too.
Yeah.
But that has to stop, because if the wound is not well, none of us are going to be well. That's just the honest to God truth.
Right.
We come onto the planet out of such trauma, some of us. Just the traumatic state of the wound. You think about slavery, we was coming through the wound already in trauma. That was something that we could clearly see back in the day, but now.
Yeah. Listen, we have to get to a place We
Yeah.
have to govern our own. We have to police our own. We have to birth our own babies. You know, we have to do that. We can't put the lives of ourselves and our family in the hands of people that are mean us no good. You know, I'm a strong advocate when it comes to home birth and you know, and doing what we know to do as Black women. And we have to get back to that place where we are governing ourselves and we are dictating what's going to happen to ourselves, our mind, our body, our soul, our spirits, the energy in which we create. We have to get back to that place to where we are the ones that are in control of that, not somebody else. When we constantly put the hands of our life into someone else and then we're upset with the result, how can you be? How can you be? We have it in us to be able to control our own narrative. We have that in us. We have to just be able to do it and have the confidence and know that we're going to fall sometimes. We're not going to get it right all the time, but be able to make the necessary corrections in order to be where we want to be in life and wherever that is. And that's not going to be the same for everybody. And that is okay. That's okay. Because we can't dictate at what level the next person should be at, but we should be a supporting party to be able to get them to whatever level they want to be at. We should be doing that for one another.
That's real talk. That's real talk. And I feel like when you're talking about a serious issue, what you call yourself is irrelevant. Yeah. See how we just jump right off of the topic? It's kind of like, yo, we talking about sex trafficking, rape, abuse. That's real. Nobody has time to say, but what are you calling yourself today? Don't nobody get, that's the thing. That's one of the hardest things about being a Black American or being an African American, whatever. I know what I am. Is just the chatter. That the other you could be dealing with some real shit right here, and then the chatter comes, and you have to figure out how to tell this to shut up, so you can focus on this right here, because that's a real issue. Sexual abuse in our community is off the chart. Black girls feeling some way, feeling abused, feeling used, feeling worthless. You know, even though she is the mother that brings us all onto the planet. Don't nobody care about that. And sometimes that's what makes other groups look so enticing. I hate to say it like that, you know, because nobody want to be dealing with that. It's like, how do we protect you? How do we make sure that you know that you are loved, you are cared? When I go into juvenile hall, that's just one of the places I go into. I love those young ladies because they get it. When I was in there on Friday, we were talking about like, how do you stay out of trouble? Or so it was like on that topic. And the one girl basically said, this is somebody in juvenile hall. It's really the law of attraction. She just came out the blue. And I was like, well, what's that? I mean, I knew what it was. And she basically told the girl, it's your energy. You attract what you are.
Wow.
This little sister was 15. She said, I said, how you know that? She goes, because I read books.
Wow.
And I said to myself, see, she passed the chatter.
Right.
The girl was giving all kind of excuses for why she got in trouble. You know what I mean? And I'm, you know, my job is to peel back the onion. And the girl in the back was like, it's the law of attraction. You attract what you are. Don't put that stuff on other people. It's you. Yeah. It's you. You like trauma. Just say you like it. I love it. Because to me, that reaffirms that, first of all, we got to stop thinking people that we know how people are thinking and feeling. We got to quit acting like we know. We think that we know what this person is because they said 2-3 words. We got to stop thinking education is elevation all the time. Education don't always come in an institution. Some of us in the streets are super educated that we don't give them credit for because we really think it comes in a PH and a D. Nothing wrong with having a PH and a D, but if it makes you stupid, then that may be a problem. You may need to go back and take that course again. You know what I mean? And really understand the proper handling of people, to really understand like, hey, you know, because the last thing I'm trying to tell somebody is, do you know that I'm like, look, I got to meet you right where you are. You know, you don't give a baby whole table food. You mush it up and you give them something they can handle because they don't have no teeth yet.
Yeah.
I'm not going to give them no whole meat. I mean, I don't even eat meat like that, but I'm just saying, you know what I'm saying? Like, I feel like sometimes we lose people because we jump way into outer space and the person is new to the earth.
Yeah. Yeah.
We got it. That's a big part of building community. We got to do that.
Right. Right. Yeah. And that goes back to what I was saying is that everybody's not going to always be on that same level as you or in that same space or mind frame as you. So yeah, that's very true. Very true.
Thank you so much. This was an awesome conversation. I've been feeling like what are we? It's all kind of things happening, especially in Sacramento.
Yes.
That people are just kind of sleeping on.
Yep.
They're looking at equity right now. I haven't gone to any of the meetings because I still don't really hear about equity, and we're going to talk about every other group of, except for what's happening with Black folks who are
Right.
doing the worst, who's hard as hell to buy a house here. I've met so many young Black families trying to buy houses, and they get outbidded by this other group who just got a protection of $50 million, which further puts Black people at the bottom. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's crazy. It's absolutely crazy. But you know, when I was sitting in those audiences last night, I was like, these Negroes here could have made this easier.
Right, right. You know, it's distraction. People are getting distracted by so many things. So many things. You know, we're so worried about what's going on over here, here, and here, and not worried about what's right here in your lap. So much. And social media will do that to you, you know, if you're not careful. But, you know, the distractions that people want to harp on and make important, you know, it's not really what it is. And so we have to be careful about that.
Like two of my pet peeves is I don't like it when Black men want to tell Black women how to protect themselves. You should be having that talk with Black men and Black boys.
Yes.
When I see stuff like that, I'm like, okay, that's like a pimp trying to tell a prostitute how to prostitute. Like that's you shouldn't even be near this person. It's like an ex-drug addict going to go on a crack house and tell people not to smoke crack when they have an addiction to crack.
Right. Yeah.
That's
I have so many conversations with brothers about that. You know, that's a great disappointment that I hold because, you know, my father is a protector and always has been. I've never understood how Black men are okay with Black women being treated the way we're treated out here. And you don't hold any responsibility to us when we are your responsibility. The Black man the Black woman, is the Black man's responsibility, straight up. And Black men turn a blind eye to what's going on to us. They don't care what's being said to us, how we're treated, whether we're physically assaulted, verbally assaulted. They offer no protection. They feel like it's not their business, it's not their place, and that is a big problem, especially here in Sacramento. I hold a huge disappointment in the way Black men are not covering Black women. It sends a horrible message to our young Black girls. And it sends a bad message to us as Black women, knowing that we're out here all on our own. We have to fend for things all on our own. There's not a Black man that we can depend on to be able to get out there and protect us, whether it be, you know, in the physical realm or whether it be in the spiritual realm, as far as energy goes, whichever way it may be, you know, to turn a blind eye to what's happening to us out here is just, it's disgusting. It's not who we are. It's not what Black men are supposed to be.
So sister is saying mothers have a large responsibility with that. As
far as what?
I guess with the Black men. What you just said.
Okay, as far as
I'm going like that because I feel like every time we try to put Black men on the hook,
somebody take them off the hook. Yeah, because that's and you just put it right back on Black women like it's. I know, and that's the problem. I mean, that's the problem right there. Yeah, I mean, you know, like as if the mother's the only one raising the Black men. I mean, you know,
she is.
Yeah, but you know, I mean, it's still not simply her responsibility, though.
I agree.
It's not. It might be a lot of single mothers out here, and there are, but that doesn't mean it's only her responsibility just because that's the situation she's in. It's that man's responsibility too. He just walked away from it. But that doesn't mean that she now has to compensate for what he's not doing. That's not fair. That's not fair to say that. I don't think
like she's accountable because she's the only one that's there.
Right. But you know,
that's a large burden to carry, but we've been carrying it.
Right. But a woman's never going to understand what a man feels. Ever.
That part.
I mean, you as a single mother will do your best, and we do. As Black women, we do our best. We do our damnedest. But do we really know what it's like to be in the skin of a Black man? Nope. We don't. Nope. I mean, it starts from you know, potty training them. We can potty train a boy all we want, but do we really know what they're feeling? Do we really know how they're supposed to pee in the toilet and stand up? Do we really know that? You know,
I don't pee standing up. So
right. So we don't really know. We do our best. That's it. But we don't truly know. You know,
that's real talk. That's real talk.
Yeah.
I feel like at some point, I think this is happening. I always say just because you don't know don't mean it ain't happening. But I would love to see on a larger scale, or at least on a more visible scale, Black folks having this conversation around what would it look like to be accountable and self-governing. And some people could be self-governing. I also know that people sometimes move away from other people because there is no accountability or people can't govern. Because everything can't be about, I really have an appreciation when I see some, like Mama in juvenile hall and the girl talk about what she did to get in there. And then she's like, I got busted, so I got to do this time. I ain't going to do it again. Because I think because for me, that's like such a realization. Like she didn't say, well, what happened with my friend? I didn't know. She was like, yeah, I knew what I was doing. I didn't think I was going to get busted. And I just be like, wow, that's so refreshing. This person would probably make a good, like a lawmaker or something. Because she was like, nah, I screwed up. You know what I mean? I was like, oh, okay. Well, I ain't going to do that again. I mean, that was just dumb. Because I really don't like it in here. This is not my life. And I'd be like, yeah, you ain't coming back in here.
Right.
She's like, I don't like being tied up. I don't. And I did something stupid. I'm not doing that again. That was just dumb.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So,
right. Yeah. We got to stop glorifying what's wrong. We got to stop glorifying abusive men just because they look good in front of the camera and they know how to dress well. We got to stop glorifying it. We got to call it what it is, and we can't glorify, a lot of people do the work for the wrong reasons.
Yeah.
So we have to be careful with that too.
But I also think for them it's more like a game. It's a game. Black people are like we're like spectators in an arena. You know how you go to somewhere and people cheer and they give you energy. We're the energy bringers. We be like, yeah, that's great. Yeah, that's great. But then when you grade it up something, you know what I'm saying, and then it's not good, then we act like we wasn't a part of that. No, yes, you were. Just say, hey, I did that because I didn't know better. I'll take that.
Right.
I'll take that. But sometimes that's the hardest thing for us to do, because then you would have to admit that you were standing on the wrong side.
Yeah.
And Nate John Lewis said that when Barack Obama was running the first time, he said he realized for him, he had made a mistake in going against him. And that's why he had changed with something that he did. And I was like, at least he was honest enough to say that I had made a mistake.
Right.
He didn't say, well, the white supremacists had me believing. He was like, no, I made a mistake.
Yeah.
So I changed it over. It's all good. Like, you know what I mean? Like, but that's the hardest thing for some of us to do.
Yeah.
You know, it's the hardest thing. Sister, thank you so much for joining me. Let me gear up this ending piece so we can get all that. Thank you so much, y'all. Thank y'all for tuning in. Great conversation. Lord knows I be wanting to know what's going on with Black folks, because hell, sometimes I don't know what's going on with us. I'll be like, I think that's what we think. I think.
Right. I know. We never know. And it's sometimes like, where they go? 1 minute they here, next minute they ain't. It's like, what happened to y'all?
Well, it's a hard concept. You know what I mean? It's just a hard concept. But you gotta love us, because ain't nothing like us.
That's right. And that's for sure.
Give thanks.
Yes.
Y'all, I will see y'all next week. Peace, peace, peace. Hold on, let me.
Artlist.io. Music licensing reimagined.